Hey guys! So today I'm going to be explaining to you all the hero pets and hero equipments you should be using in each of your armies. I know you guys are not going to watch the full video, so I left timestamps in the description and the comments of this video so you can fast forward to whatever armies you actually use in game. But if you do actually watch the full video, fair play to you, it will definitely help knowing what each pet and hero equipment you can use in every single army in the game. I've left out a few armies obviously, but I've included a lot of the most used ones. Right, the first army I'm going to show you here today is going to be Electro Dragons. So this is the army I tend to use for Electro Dragons. So the clan castle would be 10 balloons assigned to blimp. And the pets I usually use with Electro Dragons is usually Frosty and the King, Unicorn with the Queen, Phoenix with the Warden, and the Spirit Fox with the Champion. So you can customize it really if you want, but if you don't have a high level Phoenix, you could replace the Phoenix with the Electric Owl if you want. If you don't have the Spirit Fox, you could replace Diggy instead of the Spirit Fox. If you don't have a high level Frosty, you could replace the Yak with the Frosty as well, but I usually always use Unicorn with the Queen. And in terms of hero equipment then, if this is what I use, Giant Gauntlet, Rage Vial, Invisibility Vial, Heal Your Puppet, and then Eternal Tome and the Healing Tome, and then obviously Standard with the Champion for the time being. If you have a high level Vamp Stash, I could replace Stash with the Rage Vial as well, because the King is going along the outside of the base, so he'll be taking out trash defenses and gaining health over time. I would always use these two equipments with the Queen, because for the healer puppet you don't really need damage with the Queen, you need longevity, which is what the healer puppet gives you. That makes the Queen survive a lot longer in the attack. Healer Tome is very good with Electro Dragons because you're using a bunch of rage spells with them, and rage spells and the rage gem do not stack. If Electro Dragon is in both the rage gem and the rage spell, it would only take the effects from the rage spell, so the rage gem would be useless. So bring the Healing Tome. They're all the equipments I would use for Electro Dragons. So there's another strategy you could use with Electro Dragons as well, using the Giant Arrow with the Queen. So if you substitute one freeze spell for one Earthquake spell, and then you replace the Invisibility Vial with the Giant Arrow. So if you have a max level Earthquake spell, level 5, and a level 1 Archer Queen, you would be able to one-shot Air Sweepers if you combine them. You can see there. So Earthquake spell and a level 1 Archer Giant Arrow can one-shot Sweepers. If you have a level 15, if you have a level 9 Giant Arrow, you can one-shot Air Sweepers. If you have a level 15 Giant Arrow, you can one-shot Town Hall 15 Air Defenses. And if you have a max level Giant Arrow, you can one-shot Town Hall 16 Air Defenses. So make use of that if you can, but it's very hard to do. You have to angle it right to hit both sweepers, and then you can just attack from whatever angle you want and not worry about air sweepers for Electro Dragons, which is very nice. Now, the next type of army I'm going to be showing you is Root Rider armies. So there's a lot of Root Rider armies going around at the moment, such as Queen Charge Root Riders, Recall Root Riders, Mass Root Riders, and Root Riders with Electro Titans. But this army I have right here is Recall Root Riders. So in terms of the hero pets for all these Root Rider armies, they're all pretty much the same. So it'll be Phoenix with the King, Healer with the Unicorn, Unicorn with the Queen, Lizard with the Warden, and you could use the Fox with the Champion. If you don't have a high level Phoenix, you could just replace the Phoenix with the Frosty for the King. Unicorn very standard with the Queen. If you don't have a high level Lizard for the Warden, you could replace him with maybe I don't know, like the Electric Owl maybe or something, but I wouldn't be too sure. The Lizard's very good. And if you don't have the Fox, you could just replace the Fox with Diggy instead. So in terms of the equipment then for all these Root Rider armies, they're all the same except for one. So the standard for them would be, I would always use Giant Gauntlet with the Rage Vial and the King because it's a very good combination. I would use Invisibility Vial with the Healer Puppet for the armies. For the Warden, I would use Eternal Tome and the Healing Tome, and then obviously World Champion stays the same. But the only Root Rider army that you would change in equipment is for Queen Charge Root Riders. So for Queen Charge Root Riders, you would replace the Healer Puppet with the Archer Puppet, because the Archer Puppet gives the Queen more damage, and for Queen Charges, you need the Queen to do as much damage as possible for those Queen Charges. So for only Queen Charge Root Riders, replace the Healer Puppet with the Archer Puppet. But for Recall Root Riders, Mass Root Riders, and Root Riders with Titans, you replace the Archer Puppet with the Healer Puppet. So that's what I would use for the Root Riders army. Now, so for Super Bowler armies, these are the equipments I like to use in the pets. So this army right here is a Warden Walk with Super Bowlers. Right, so the pets I kind of like to use for this army here are fairly standard as well. So for the King, I usually always have the Phoenix with him, then Unicorn with the Queen, Lizard with the Warden, and then Spirit Fox with the Champion. So again, if you don't have the high level Phoenix, you could just give Frosty to the King as well. Unicorn's always standard with the Queen. If you don't have a high level Wizard, you could give Diggy or Lizard or the Frosty to the Warden as well. And if you don't have a high level Spirit Fox, you can give the Diggy to the Champion too. In terms of the hero abilities then, I always use the Giant Gauntlet with the Rage Vial. It's a very, very powerful combination. You could always just use standard King equipment as well if you want, just with the Barbarian Puppet. For the Queen, I would use the Invisibility Vial with the Healer Puppet, because the Healer Puppet is so good since this is not a Queen Charge. You want the Queen to survive as long as possible and not for her to do as much damage as possible. So yeah, Healer Puppet is very good. For the Warden then, I always use the Life Aura with the Super Bowlers, because Super Bowlers are not that tanky. They only have like 2,000, a little bit more than 2,000 hit points. So I feel with the Life Aura, they need a little bit more hit points to get through the base, which is why I bring it. You could bring the Rage Vial or the Rage Gem if you want, but you're already bringing Rage Gems for the army anyway. Rage Spells and Rage Gems do not stack. I wouldn't really bring the Healing Tome, to be honest, because they're going to get healed from the healers throughout the attack anyway if the healers do switch to the bowlers. So that's why I would bring the Life Aura for Super Bowler attacks. Now, the next army type is going to be Super Witches. This army I have right here is Warden Walk into Zap Super Witches. You can use it for any kind of army, really. So the pet combination I usually use for these kind of armies would be Phoenix on the King, Unicorn on the Queen, Frosty on the Warden, and then the Bear Fox on the Champion. You can replace the Phoenix with the King with the Yak or Frosty if you want. The Unicorn's always standard with the Queen. For the Warden, you can replace Frosty with the Lizard or Electric Owl or any other pets like that if you want. And then for the Champion, you can replace the Spirit Fox with Diggy if you don't have the Spirit Fox unlocked. Now, in terms of the equipment then, I always use Giant Gauntlet and the Rage Vial with the King because it's a very good combination. For the Queen, I would use Invisibility Vial and the Healer Puppet because it is not a Queen Charge, and I would only use the Archer Puppet if I was using the Queen Charge, and Healer's Puppet just makes the Queen survive a lot longer. For the Warden then, I would keep Eternal Tome, but also include the Rage Gem, because the Rage Gem is useful in armies that are quite slow, and Super Witches are a very slow attack or army to use. So the Warden Walk then, when you're using the Rage Gem, will make the Warden Walks go a lot faster, so you hopefully prevent time fails. So that is why I would use the Rage Gem for Queen Char or for Super Witch attacks, if you can. And then standard equipment then for the champion. Now, the next army type I'm going to be looking at is Lalo, which is Lava Hounds and Balloons. There are a few types of Lava Hound armies, like Queen Charge Lalo, Zap Lalo, Sui Lalo, and Blizzard Lalo. But this army here would be Zap Lalo. So, for these Lalo armies, they're all pretty much nearly using the same equipment except for one army, and the pets as well. So for the pets, I usually use the King, the Phoenix for the King, I use Unicorn for the Queen, the Electric Owl for the Warden, and the Fox for the Champion. If you don't have the Phoenix at a high level, you could replace the Phoenix with Frosty or maybe even the Yak. Unicorn's always standard with the Queen. You should have the Owl at that level as well, level 10. And if you don't have the Fox, you could replace the Fox with Diggy if you want to. So, in terms of equipment then, they all use the same equipment except Queen Charge Lalo. So, Giant Gauntlet, Rage Vial for the King, Invisibility Vial, Healer Pup for the Queen, Eternal Tome and Life or a Life Gem for the Warden, and then Standard for the Champion. So all the Lalo armies use those equipment except Queen Charge Lalo, where Queen Charge Lalo you would replace the Healer Puppet with the Archer Puppet, because for the Archer Puppet you get more damage with the Queen Charge and you need damage for Queen Charges, and the Healer Puppet is only there for longevity. So that's why I would use the Healer Puppet for Queen Charges. I always use the Life Gem for the Lalo as well, because the Life Gem is very good in armies where the troops that are pushing through the base do not have a whole lot of hit points, such as Balloons, Miners, Hog Riders, and maybe even Super Polars. So giving all those troops 600 or 700 extra hit points is very crucial in those attacks. So that's why I would give the Life Gem to the Warden. Now, so the next type of army I'm going to show you is Dragon Armies. So these armies would include Super Archer Blimp into Dragons, or Hydra, which is Dragons and Dragon Riders, or Super Dragons, any of those kind of armies. So this army I'm showing you right now here is a Super Archer Blimp into Dragons. For this army here, I would use Phoenix with the King, Unicorn with the Queen, Electric Owl with the Warden, and the Fox with the Champion. If you don't have a Phoenix at high level, you could replace the King or the Phoenix with Frosty. If you don't have a high level or don't have the spare Fox, you can replace the spare Fox with Diggy if you want to. So for this Super Archer Blimp into Dragons, you're using all your spells for the Super Archer Blimp and you've no spells for the Dragons. So if you've no spells for your main push for your Dragon armies, I would recommend you use a Rage Gem, because you need to give the Dragons a bit more damage to get through the base, and I don't think you necessarily need healing. So, and since there's no Rage spells for the Dragons, you actually can use a Rage Gem, and you'd have to use it then, because they just need to push through the base. If you're using armies where you did not have to use a Super Archer Blimp and you do have spells for your Dragons, like Rages and free spells, I would use a Healing Tome with that army, and then just keep the other equipments the same. You're always going to have the Healer Puppet with the Queen, unless you're doing a Queen Charge with Dragon Riders maybe, that could be an army. You can use the archer puppet for that. If you are using an army with super dragons, generally you would bring a healing tome for the super dragons because they already have a lot of hit points, so they don't need the life gem. And you're always bringing rage spells for the super dragons as well, so there's no point bringing a rage gem for that army, so you'd always bring the healing tome instead because they have a lot of hit points and you can power through the base. So for a lot of those armies there, it does depend on what army you're using, but for this army here, these are the equipment you use, and for Dragon Riders and Super Dragons. Now, the next army I'm going to show you is going to be Queen Charge Hybrid armies. So this would include Queen Charge Hog, Queen Charge Hog Miner, which is Queen Charge Hybrid. It can include Queen Charge Super Miners or Queen Charge Double Hogs, which are Hog Riders with Super Hog Riders. They're all used around the same hero equipment and pets. So since it's a Queen Charge, you will be bringing the invisibility vial with this archer puppet because it gives the Queen a lot of damage to get into the base with the Queen Charge. For the King, I always use the Giant Gauntlet and the Rage Vial. Oh yeah, I use the Phoenix with the King and the Unicorn with the Queen. And then for the Warden, I use the Eternal Tome with the Life Gem because for armies that have a very little amount of hit points that are pushing into the base, such as Hogs and Miners, you do need the extra hit points. So the Life Gem is very useful. It gives them like an extra 600 or 700 hit points going through the base. And for Champion, it's standard equipment with the Spirit Fox. If you do have access to the Spirit Fox, I would give it to the Champion and then give Diggy to the Warden, because the Warden attacks what the troops around him are attacking, and then the Diggy attacks what the Warden is attacking, so therefore the Diggy will be attacking what the Hogs and Miners are attacking, then stunning them, which is very useful. If you don't have the Fox, I would put Diggy with the Champion, and I would probably give Frosty or the Lizard to the Warden instead. That's what I would use. Oh yeah, and if you do have the Phoenix to the King, you can give like the Yak or the Frosty to the King too if you want. If you're using an army like Super Miners, maybe Queen Charge Super Miners, since they have a lot of hit points, you may not need to give them the Life Gem at all. So you could give the Healing Tome to the Warden if you want, or the Rage Gem, whichever is up to you. So that's for all those armies there anyway. So it's all fairly similar with these Queen Charge Hog and Miner armies. So yeah. Right, so that's pretty much every army in the game nearly covered for what pets and hero equipment for to use. If you guys have your own opinions on what ones to use and mine are different, that's fine. So yeah, alright, that's it. So sure, thank you so much for watching. Oh yeah, also, first person to comment to say please will get a free gold pass next month. Just send your Supercell ID in the comments and I'll friend you and give it to you.